And greetings, everyone. This is Kevin, your Aptrepreneur. Welcome to the Aptrepreneur Show. Now, normally there is a much more cheerful intro than this. Unfortunately, with at least one of the topics today, we'll try to end the show on like a good note. But the first topic is unfortunately not very happy. I'm sorry to say. It's one of those stories that you really hate to have to report on, but I kind of feel like it's important to discuss. So for our first topic, we're going to discuss this story about a 20-year-old Robinhood customer who, there's no other way to put it. He died by suicide after seeing a negative balance on his app. Now, there's some frustrating things about this story. First of all, the negative balance was a glitch. He hadn't really lost that kind of money. That was tragedy number one. Tragedy number two is that he didn't reach out to anyone expressing his frustration or sorrow. He felt there was no other way than just to take his life. That was definitely mistake number two. If you're ever feeling suicidal for whatever reason, please reach out to someone you know. Someone. Even the suicide prevention hotline. It's available. And then mistake number three was he started doing this and he didn't really know what he was doing. Now, some people think it's annoying when I say things like, this is not financial advice, and never spend more than what you're willing to lose. I say these things for reasons. Because while it's kind of fun to put your money into stocks and you watch those stocks grow, you can lose money. And I have lost money. I share the spreadsheet. Yes, I've made money more often than I've lost, but I have lost money. And my biggest loss was over $100 one day. So the stock market is not safe. It's especially not stable right now. And this is why I always tell you, if you are going to get into this and you aren't sure of what you're doing, talk to a financial advisor. Because unfortunately, you may wind up like this. And the Forbes headline says very clearly, 20-year-old Robinhood customer dies by suicide after seeing a $730,000 negative balance. Now, right off the get-go, I knew this was suspicious. Because here's the thing, you can lose your shirt, but can you actually lose more money than what you put in? Typically, no. Your stocks can go to zero, but that doesn't always work out. In fact, let me show something that is probably important so that you can understand what we're talking about when it comes to the negative balances, and you might understand where we're coming from. This is my Robinhood portfolio. You've gotten quite used to it. By the way, since last time, I've added 12 shares in Ovid, and it's already up 43.65%. I've also added Orbic. Just pointing that out. That changed. But look at the day. The day it says it's $138 uptick. That means today this portfolio gained $137. If I go back a month, it's gained $278.46. If I do 3 months, it's gained over $1,000. If it's a year, it's $952.89. If you go all time, it's $672.96 because there was a movie pass investment here that totally went haywire. So when you say there's a negative amount on the app, what that usually means is that for the day, money went down. In fact, there are points in today where, as you can see, I was down money, and it looks like a negative. So that's what it means when you see a negative and you open Robinhood, because it's always going to default to the current day. Now, that said, when you see this loss, it doesn't mean he lost everything. It just means that's how much it was down. But again, this is a little spoiler. There was a glitch. So we're going to read this article in a lot of depth, so that this one's super complicated. And it might even be above my ability to properly explain it, but I'm going to do my best. So, the note found on his computer by his parents on June 12, 2020 asked a simple question. How was a 20-year-old with no income able to get assigned almost $1 million worth of leverage? The tragic message was written by Alexander E. Kearns, a 20-year-old student at the University of Nebraska, home from college and living with his parents in Naperville, Illinois. Earlier that day, Kearns took his own life. Like so many others, Kearns took up stock investing during the pandemic, signing up with millennial-focused brokerage from Robinhood, which offers commission-free trading, a fun and easy-to-use mobile app, and even awards new customers free shares of stock. During the first quarter of 2020, Robinhood added a record 3 million new accounts to its platform. As the COVID-19 stock market swung wildly, Kearns had begun experimenting, trading options. His final note, filled with anger towards Robinhood, says that he had no clue what he was doing. And I think this is an important part of the article to stress. A lot of people are getting into Robinhood right now, and here's the thing, it is fun. Look, it's fun. It's like gambling. In many ways, it is gambling, because stock is you buy something and you hope it goes up. But it could just as easily go down. And the big wins, the ones that they make movies out of, are those stocks that you buy at like $2 to $5 a share. You buy a bunch of them, and guess what? They go to $15, $20, $30. The people that become millionaires are the ones who put $1,000 into Amazon stock when it's $25 a share and wake up to find the shares are worth 2,500 shares. This is fun. It's also dangerous. You can lose a lot of money. And here's the other thing. Investing is typically for the long term. People who do this for short-term success typically wind up losing their shirts. So when you make these investments, there's got to be some planning for the future. The fact that he says he had no clue what he was doing, if that's you, if you don't really know what you're doing with this, you need to stop and you need to get some financial advice from someone who can explain what it is you're doing. I can't do that for you. Continuing. In fact, a screenshot from Kearns' mobile phone reveals that while his account had a negative $730,165 cash balance display in red, it may not have represented uncollateralized indebtedness at all, but rather his temporary balance until the stocks underlying his assigned options actually settled into his account. So this might have been a glitch, and that makes it all the more frustrating. Silicon Valley-based Robinhood is not sharing details of Kearns' account, citing privacy concerns. Quote, all of us at Robinhood are deeply saddened to hear this terrible news, and we reached out to share our condolences with the family over the weekend. It's impossible to know all of the factors contributing to suicide, especially in young people. Still, the tragic demise of Alexander Kearns is a cautionary tale of the serious risks associated with the race to the bottom in the brokerage business. Robinhood, E-Trade, TD, Ameritrade, Charles Schwab, Interactive Brokers, Fidelity, and even Merrill Lynch have all embraced commission-free trading and zero minimum balance in an effort to attract younger customers, many of whom have little understanding of the securities and markets they are dabbling in. So, his cousin, I'm actually going to skip that because that's just his cousin talking about him. So, Kearns apparently fell into despair late Thursday night after looking at his Robinhood account, which appeared to have $16,000 in it. But it also showed a cash a balance of negative $730,000. In his final note, seen by Forbes, Kearns insisted that he never authorized margin trading and was shocked to find this small account could rack up such an apparent loss. Now, what is margin trading? Let's look that up real quick. Definition. So, margin trading is a method of trading assets using funds provided by a third party. When compared to regular trading accounts, margin accounts allow traders to access greater sums of capital, allowing them to leverage their positions. According to his note, he didn't approve of that. Now, here's the sad thing. Well, I mean, all of this is sad, but this is really sad. When he saw that 730,000 number as a negative, he thought that he had blown up his entire future. His dad said, or his cousin said, I mean, this is a kid that when he was younger was so conscious about savings. Yeah. So here's what might have actually happened. Although Robinhood won't release the details of his account, it's possible that Kearns was trading what's known as a bull-put spread. Put options give buyers the right to sell the stock at the strike price anytime until expiration, while put sellers are on the hook to buy the underlying stock at the strike price if assigned. This happens automatically at expiration if the price of the underlying stock closes that day at a price 1 penny or more below the strike price. In Kearns' note, he says that the puts he bought and the sold, quote, should have canceled out, and this was a very, very big mistake when it comes to Robinhood. Because normally a bull put spread involves selling put options at a higher strike price and buying puts at a lower strike price, both with the same expiration. The trade generates a new credit, which the options trader keeps if the stock prices stay above the higher strike price through expiration. It's generally considered a limited risk strategy because the simultaneous purchase and sale of the put options means the maximum loss on a per share basis is the difference between the strike prices less the amount earned when the puts are sold, initiating the trades. There can be wrinkles, however, when the price of the underlying stock at expiration is between the two spike prices, or in the case of early assignment, which may have occurred in Kearns' account. Now they're going to use like an example. Here's an example of how a bull-put spread could produce an unexpectedly large stock position in your portfolio. On June 16th, Amazon, and this is their example, not mine, trades at $2,615 per share. If you're neutral to bullish on Amazon, you could sell put options that expire on June 17th, which I believe is when this article was written, with a $2,015 strike price for $28 per option. To limit your risk, the other leg of the trade is to purchase puts at a lower strike price, $2,610 for a cost of $26. That $2 differential multiplied by 100 generates $200 for every contract you sell. You following me so far? So, do 3 contracts and you generate $600. If Amazon closes on July 17th above the $2,615, you're in the clear and keep all of the proceeds. That's a win for you, as both puts expire worthless. If the stock closes below $2,610, you will encounter your maximum loss of $900. $5, difference between price strikes, minus $2, proceeds upfront, minus 3 contracts. When the stock closes between the two strike prices, the put you bought at the lower strike price expires worthless, but the one you sold is in the money and legally binds you to buy the stock at the strike price. In the case of 3 contracts of $2,615 Amazon puts, that would be $784,500 to purchase 300 shares. Over weekend, say, you may see a negative $784,500 debit to buy the stock, but you would not see the stock among your holdings until Monday. Now, isn't that frustrating? Kearns may not have realized that his negative cash balance displaying on his Robinhood home screen was only temporary and would be corrected once the underlying stock was credited to his account. Indeed, it's not uncommon for cash and buying power to display negative after the first half of operations are processed, but before the second options are exercised, even if the portfolio remains positive. His cousin said, tragically, "I don't even think he made that big of a mistake. This is an interface issue. They have slick interfaces, confetti popping everywhere. They try to gamify trading and coach it as investment." I do agree with that one, by the way. One thing about Robinhood that is a little dangerous is that it does kind of leave people with like a sense that this is a game, and it's really not. It is real money you're playing with. And hey, if you're fully willing to lose that money, that's one thing. But if you're like going into this thinking you're going to get rich and you're going to just have fun doing it, it's a lot harder than you think. Now, Robinhood says, "We are committed to continuously improving our platform and are reviewing our options offering to determine if any changes may be appropriate." I think some changes on Robinhood might be appropriate to try to avoid this sort of mistake from happening again. Granted, again, this kid made some mistakes of his own. He was buying stocks on an app he didn't fully understand, and instead of talking to someone and maybe seeing what could be done, this is unfortunate all around. This is one of the dark sides of Robinhood, is that it's kind of being, one of the reasons it's catching on right now is because it's seen as like a get-rich-quick thing, and it's not. And people watch certain YouTubers, and I really, just to let you know, I don't have any particular YouTuber in mind. We're talking about YouTubers in general. Robinhood is very popular to talk about as, not only the stocks you're buying, but the app. Obviously, I'm doing it right here. I try to let you know that what I show you is my personal investments, and I don't have a business degree, okay? I have been buying stocks for a long time, so I have a fairly good idea of what I'm doing, but I'm not a psychic. I don't know what's going to go up and down. There's just a lot of my own personal research and maybe some dumb luck. I hadn't heard about Nikola really before I looked at the stock. It seemed to be going up at a rapid pace. I bought 20 shares, and the rest is history. It's done really good for me, but that was a lucky guess. And that was a risk I was willing to take. And had I lost it all, that would have been very bad, but that would have been on me. Don't get into this unless you have some idea of what you're doing. If you know someone who is in the business, ask them to help you with investing. Before anyone starts doing Robinhood, I think you need to, at the very, 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 very least, watch the Walking on Wall Street short on Schoolhouse Rock. It sounds funny, I know, because it's made for kids, but it's the most basic idea of what stock trading is. Now, this kid, and they've explained the mistake. Basically, he set up some putts. They didn't work out the way they were supposed to. I don't believe you can on Robinhood go negative, but you can lose what you put into it. You can lose everything you put into it. So please be careful about what you are doing. This is not a game, and you could lose your shirt. And if you feel depressed because of something that happened on Robinhood, like you lost a lot of money, please reach out to someone. And if it's over the weekend, please, at the very least, reach out to Robinhood first and see if the number is even correct. Had this kid wait a couple days, he probably still would have lost money, but it might not have been quite as much. So anyway, that's where I'm going to leave that one. So I'd like to know what you think about all of this. And please stay safe out there. And with that said, well, hold on. Sorry. With that said, it's time to get on to our second topic of the day. And our second topic of the day involves Lyft. Now, this is Lyft specifically, but in general, Uber and Lyft have both made promises to be more carbon friendly in the future. They have done things like given a higher fare to people who have electric or hybrid vehicles. In Europe, Uber is requiring electric vehicles for their drivers. And now it appears Lyft is following suit because they are promising to switch to 100% electric vehicles by 2030. So, as the article writes from Reuters, ride-hailing company Lyft Incorporated on Wednesday said every vehicle on its ride-hailing and rental car platform will be electric by 2030, but it would not provide direct financial support to drivers for switching from gas-powered cars. I can already tell you everything that's wrong with that sentence. Here's what's wrong with that sentence. A few things, actually. First of all, every car is going to be an electric vehicle by 2030. Well, here's the thing. Hopefully, we will have more electric vehicles and more hybrids in the future, but I still think it's going to be a little while before everything is completely electric. It's just moving very slowly. I mean, Tesla is definitely doing a good job of it, and, Nikola's getting in there. They're doing hydrogen/electric, but most car companies are still doing gas. And very few car companies have shown a real commitment to just be 100% electric in the future. So in 10 years, while I believe electric vehicles will be more out there, I don't think it's going to be all of them. So you're going to cut a lot of drivers out of the equation. But here's the other problem. They would not provide direct financial support to drivers who are switching from gas-powered cars. What's the problem with that? Well, gas-guzzling clunkers, which are usually bad for the environment, typically tend to be cheap. And you're not paying a lot of money anyway, so people are going to go for the cheap cars. Now, if you're going to require the drivers to buy a new vehicle that's fully electric, but you're not going to help them, and you're not going to give them more money, then guess what? You're going to lose a lot of drivers. You are going to lose a lot of drivers. Here's the thing. Instead, the company plans to push competitors, lawmakers, and automakers to make it easier for drivers to switch to electric vehicles by creating financial incentives, Lyft executives said during a call. Here's another problem. It's not Lyft's competitors, lawmakers, or automakers' job to make it easier for drivers to switch to electric vehicles. If Lyft truly believes in a 100% electric future and they believe that, hey, we need to do this in 10 years and it needs to be a reality, then it's up to Lyft to offer the incentives, not these other people. John Zimmer, Lyft's co-founder and president, said the company has reached a scale to impact policy change. I don't know what that scale looks like considering you're not doing anything. Lyft, whose vehicle fleet is currently made up of less than 1% of electric cars, which should tell you how much this is going to succeed, in a statement said it would aggressively promote and help drivers access incentive funds, while not providing any. Quote, if policymakers do their part in the next few years, EVs should reach cost parity with gasoline vehicles by mid-decade, the company says. But that's not a guarantee. What if they don't do that? What if they don't become cost parity with gasoline vehicles? What if in 10 years, guess what? The gas vehicles are still cheaper and the electric vehicles you're still paying a premium on. This is definitely Lyft. What's the term? This is definitely a Lyft being a politician, saying this is them running for president. By this year we're gonna have 100% electric vehicles by 2030, and the automakers and the competitors and the policymakers, they are going to be the ones to help you get there with the finances, and they can make the car safe, but they're not going to do anything. They're not going to do anything themselves. This is what politicians do, and Lyft is definitely acting like a politician. Now, I don't disagree with this statement. I actually think that's a noble goal, and I think it's doable, but Lyft is doing this without anyone's cooperation. Again, they're saying, yeah, car makers, policymakers, these are the people who will make it possible. But Lyft is not offering an incentive themselves, which they can, and they have before, which is, hey, we want to go 100% electrical by 2030. And by the way, if you're one of the first ones, your rate goes up. Your rates go up. We will not take as much money from you. That's one incentive to get people to switch over to the cars. Maybe they make another partnership with, maybe not Hertz, because that didn't work out very well, but if you can find another sucker car rental company maybe make a deal with them and get people to use the electric vehicles and have it like, hey, if you use an electric vehicle and you do this many rides a week, you don't pay for the car. It eventually pays for itself. Do an incentive. Do something like that. In the meantime, well, this is what they want. I don't think they're going to actually get it the way they think it's going to happen. But, there you go. What do you expect? It's Lyft, right? It's another political campaign for them. So anyway, I'd like to know what you think about this one. Are you going to upgrade your car for an electric vehicle in 10 years? Heck, can you imagine doing this in 10 years? I'd love to know. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. By the way, I see we have 9 people watching. We have Romeo here, we have Dan T, and Seaside Surfs, who is now known as Seattle Builds 2. Thank you all for joining. If anyone wants to give a thumbs up, that would be really, really nice. With that said, let's talk about main topic number 3. And our third main topic technically involves all of the delivery apps. All of the delivery apps. Because here's the thing. We all know that Uber Eats, Grubhub, Postmates, they're all on fire right now. And also, full disclosure, Uber Eats is delivering my dinner tonight because they sent me an email giving me a $30 discount on food. My order was $30.16. So after the tip and the delivery fee, $10 for dinner. Hey, you know what? It can't be beat. So just be upfront about that. But one of the bad things about these apps is that, hey, they're taking way too much from the restaurants. And they're not paying the drivers right. And here's the other thing. They came in at a time when the idea of like having an app to deliver food was kind of a foreign concept. And restaurants started signing up with them. We're not just about Uber Eats, talking about Grubhub and Postmates too as well. And they found out that a lot of people actually really liked getting the food delivered. Even though they would pay about 30% more, they liked getting the food delivered. Well, I always wondered at one point, when are the restaurants going to start realizing, you know what? We can make an app. We can do that. And we don't need a middleman. And apparently Panda Express is one of the first companies to realize this because they are going to be launching a delivery service with a free offer starting Thursday. And keep in mind, Panda Express is not fancy cuisine. It's not like the best of China. It's fast food. It's an American product. And they're no different from Burger King, Domino's, McDonald's, Taco Bell. They're no different from these companies. And they have decided that basically they want to cut out the middleman. So here's what's going on. The Panda Express is taking control of its own food deliveries. The American Chinese restaurant is cutting out the middleman in deliveries so its guests will not incur additional fees typically found on third-party apps. To celebrate the launch, Panda Express is offering free delivery beginning Thursday through July 1st on orders over $10. The restaurant said it recognized guests' increased demand, but the current delivery options through apps like Uber Eats and Postmates made it more expensive for them. These services charge up to a 30% commission, which restaurant owners say is unsustainable. They also control data that would otherwise enable direct relationships with the customers. So this is what the chief brand officer, Andrea Chern of Panda Express, said. We understand that convenience and value are what our guests need right now. So we've quickly adapted our marketing and business approach. In order to provide quality meals at a value for families in our communities, we're creating more regular promotions and speeding up our delivery as a service launch by half a year. Panda Express is also in the process of bringing back its full menu at locations across the nation. It's a big undertaking, but by the end of July, Panda Delivers, our own delivery option, will be available for our guests to close to 2,000 locations. And there you have it. And here's the thing. I knew this was going to happen. Because, again, as they said, that 30% commission fee is not sustainable. It's not. And people like to think that these companies make, bank money on food. No, they don't. It's actually a razor thin margin. So, for example, if there's certain items that do make more money. And just because, like, so when you go to Panda Express, and I don't know exactly if this is what it is, but say you buy the orange chicken for $6. You think, oh, they're getting $6 for this orange chicken. They're getting like $1.50 for that orange chicken. It's when you buy like the $2.50 soda, that's a $2.40 profit. That's always why they're stressing to drink so much. And yeah, if you buy a lot of food, like, you know, you throw in like the cheesecake, you throw in the noodles. The noodles are also a huge markup, by the way. If you start throwing in all these food items, and yeah, they will make money, but it's not like they're making bank off of you. So when you buy from them through Uber Eats or something, and it's like a 30% fee for them, most of the time, that's their profit, or it's most of their profit. Sometimes it's more than their profit, and they actually lose money on that delivery. And all the restaurants see it. That's why there's controversy. That's why cities started putting limitations on how much the fee could and couldn't be during the pandemic. And Panda realized, you know what? We know that people want food delivered, so we're going to do it ourselves, and we're going to cut out the middleman. We're going to keep that 30%, and by the way, we're going to have that data so we know who our customers are, who are our regulars, who are our once in a whilers, what they like. And that data, by the way, means that, like, say you're a once in a while customer, but you always buy the same thing, you can send them, like, for example, an online coupon that says, hey, if you do this, you can buy one, get one free, or whatever. So this is really smart on Panda Express's part. I fully expect other fast food establishments to go this route. Now, this does create a problem, or maybe not a problem, but a conflict. Will customers want to have multiple apps? Because it's kind of like the streaming wars all over again. Hey, everybody loves streaming when it's just Netflix and maybe Hulu, and then Amazon comes in there at the last minute. But now it's like you got Disney Plus, HBO Max, you've got Crunchyroll, you've got Retro Crush, which is free, by the way, you've got Apple TV Plus, and you've got Con TV, you've got ESPN Plus, like you've got HBO, which is different from HBO Max. You have Fandor, the Criterion channel. You've got so many options. Do people want to have an app for McDonald's, Burger King, Panda Express, Domino's, Pizza Hut, Papa John's, Carl's Jr. / Hardee's, Taco Bell? Maybe the Yum Brands app could consolidate some because they own KFC, Taco Bell, Arby's, all that stuff. But now you're looking at multiple apps, and it's inconvenient. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's inconvenient. And anyway, so you know, it's a problem. It's not a problem. It's annoying. It's inconvenient, and I think people would rather not do it. They would like to just have Uber Eats, or just have Postmates, or just have DoorDash. That's how they would like it, but you know, they just charge too much money. And food places are really eager to get out of the middleman business. So I do have to ask the question, what do you think is going to happen? And what would you react to if you had to go from using one app to using several apps just to order food based on whatever restaurant you want? I would love to know. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one. Now, as that out of the way, please, the 10 people who are in here, if you like it so far, please give a thumbs up, because you're not going to like the video for a whole lot longer, because there be mask controversies ahead. There be mask controversies. And here's the thing. And the last topic after this will be a fun topic, and then we'll kind of call it a day. And if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat, by the way. But the masks have become a real big pain, to be perfectly blunt. And look, I'm going to be honest, I don't know what people's problem with it is sometimes. I mean, yeah, you get excuses like, oh, I can't breathe, oh, it's annoying, oh, it won't prevent me from getting it. But you know what, scientifically speaking, and most scientists agree with this. There are some that don't, but like global warming, people who believe that, or scientists that believe that global warming isn't a real thing, they're in very small numbers compared to the people who believe that global warming is a problem. And these scientists are in a very low number of scientists who believe that masks do help. And we're starting to see cases spike again because we're reopening. There's been protests, and it's just the cases are spiking. And they're spiking enough, at least in California, where Governor Gavin Newsom has ordered residents to wear face coverings in most public spaces. And this is going to be interesting because I have some people who watch this channel, some people who've been watching for years, by the way, who I like, and I just happen to disagree with them on this, who have actually said they will go out of their way to not patronize places that will force them to wear a mask because they don't believe in it. And I think that's going to be like a very short list of places you can go to. But what happens now when the entire state mandates it? We're not going to read this whole article, but we will look at the key points. So here's the key points. California Governor Gavin Newsom issued a statewide order on Thursday requiring people to wear a face mask covering in most indoor settings and outside when maintaining a physical distance from others is not feasible. Newsom has said that the order was necessary because too many people have started to venture out in the public with their faces uncovered, and I can attest to that. Now, here's the thing. The requirement does not pertain to people who may be eating at a restaurant while maintaining a 6-foot distance, or for those who are engaged in recreational activities like swimming, hiking, running, and biking. And yes, you can walk with a mask. That's fine. Running with a mask, probably not the safest idea in the world. And there's other exceptions, like if you speak sign language, and reading the lips might be really important to understand what's being said. You don't have to necessarily wear a mask. Or if you're 2 years old, don't have to wear a mask. Or if you have breathing problems, which, all of a sudden everyone has breathing problems once they have to wear a mask, then you can not wear a mask. Although, that said, he did say something about how the doctors have to confirm this to be real. You just can't walk up to someone and say, I have breathing problems, therefore I'm not wearing a mask. Because then the next thing you need to do is, well, you need to stand away from me then. Or, I'm speaking figuratively, of course. Which does make me wonder, what does the future of this look like? Do we have to start, giving, cards to people? How, some people have, medical cards, they can, to explain away something on why they're not doing it because they have a medical condition? Are people going to have to now go to their doctors, and the doctor has to determine that, yes, wearing a mask would be dangerous for you. Therefore, I am giving you this card. So if someone harasses you at a restaurant or a movie theater or Target, pull out the card, show it to them, and let them be on the way. Maybe that's what needs to happen. I don't know. But the bottom line is, if you're in California and you live by this philosophy of, I'm not going to go anywhere that forces me to wear a mask, and I'm an Uber and Postmates driver, and I'm not going to wear a mask, I don't care what they say, guess what? Yes, you are. Or you're going to stay home. Because Gavin Newsom has now officially said to wear the face coverings. Now, do I agree with this? Believe it or not really. That might surprise you because I do believe in the masks. I wear my mask. I don't think it's that big a deal, and I think you're selfish if you're not wearing the mask. But I do think there is a fine line between the governor saying everyone blanket has to wear it. You can't legislate people to do the right thing. And I do, to a certain extent, not agree with this. If you don't want to wear your mask, hey, keep your distance. We'll be fine, I suppose. But here's what I think this will require, though. I would personally have done it like this if I were the governor. The masks are strongly recommended. And if you are not going to wear a mask, that is your legal right to do that, but you must keep your distance. And if you are not keeping your distance, and if you are making people uncomfortable, you are up to be arrested. Because it is a pandemic. We know it's out there, and people have politely asked you, stay back. If you're wearing a mask, you can get a little closer. So this is a complicated matter, but here's why we're talking about it here. It's because this has been the biggest debate about the gig economy since this pandemic started. When it's time to go back to living life, are you going to wear a mask or not? And many people say, freedom, that's why I'm not wearing the mask. I say, shut up, that's not freedom. But you know what? It kind of is freedom. So I get upset that people won't wear the mask, but I understand it. You don't want to wear it. It's technically your right not to wear it, but I also think it's not your right to get people sick or to make them uncomfortable. So you need to stand back. And he's kind of worded as much like, basically, if, you are, because here's where it says, they're requiring people to wear a face mask covering in most indoor settings and outside when maintaining a physical distance from others is not feasible. So basically, if you can keep your distance, then you don't have to wear your mask. That means, though, that if you're doing rideshare in California, if you're doing food delivery in California, guess what? You're wearing the mask. There's no distancing yourself from people. Unless you have an SUV and they are sitting, you're getting one or two people and they're sitting way in the back, you don't have any distance from people. So, look, I know that, and there's actually one question. I normally save the questions for after the show. But I'm gonna mention this now, because Rideshare Source Driver actually brought up an interesting point. He asks, can you sue if someone without masks gets closer that 6 feet distance between him and you? That's a very, very good question. That's a very good question because during a pandemic, that's a good question. Because here's the thing. If someone will get close to you and they're not wearing a mask, I don't know. A lawyer's going to have to decide that one. But I could definitely see a negligence case being made there. Now, he also asked, what about sneezing in wind or spitting? Well, that's why you wear the mask. That's why you should probably wear the mask anyway, because of sneezing, wind, or spitting. But I would not be too surprised if someone at some point sue someone for standing too close to them. And it can't just be anyone. It can't be like someone accidentally walks up to someone and you turn around and say, hey, dude, can you keep your distance? And they're like, oh, man, I'm sorry. And they walk back. I don't think you could sue over that. But if you're in a public place and someone does not appear to be very hygienic and they get within an inch of you and they're not wearing a mask, you turn around, you ask them to step back and they say, make me, there might be a case there during a pandemic. Who knows? Because the CDC guidelines are pretty clear about keeping distance. Now, again, I'm not a lawyer. But here's something to consider. People have successfully sued smokers for blowing smoke in their faces and claiming that the smokers were negligent because they told the smokers they had an allergy to smoke, and they told them not to smoke around them, and the people did not care, and they have successfully sued them. So, who knows? It will be very, very interesting. Anyway, I don't want to get too much into that anymore. I'm sure we will discuss it. Oh, I lost one of my likes. What do you know? I lost one of my likes because of this one. Darn it. Oh, well, what can I say? I'd love to know what all of you think. Regardless, comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one. And now for our final topic. And this one's totally going to be fun. This one is going to be total fun. In fact, I even want people to get ready to comment on this one, because I think everyone's going to want to comment on this one, and I am certainly interested in what you think about this. But Lights Camera Bod, which is another YouTube site, they do fun little Twitter games once in a while. And their most recent one involves Pixar. And this is the game. And it's kind of a hard one when you really think about it. They have 3 columns of Pixar movies. And the challenge is to delete one movie from each column forever. That means if you had the choice, and of course no one's going to put this into practice, but it's like a real head scratcher. From each column, A, B, C, you take a movie and you say, I am never going to watch this movie again. I am removing this movie from my circulation forever. That's the game. And that's really hard to do with Pixar movies. But I figured, hey, what the heck? Let's do this anyway. This might make for a fun topic. So, here's how I'm going to do it. We're going to go through each column one by one. And I'm going to first ask you guys what you would remove from each column. And then I'm going to give my opinion. So, here's column A. Column A, the movies are Toy Story, The Incredibles, Finding Nemo, and Toy Story 2. Of these 4 movies, which one do you remove from your viewing pleasure experience forever? Which one do you never watch again? And let's go and let's see if anybody says it. So Seattle Builds 2 picks Incredibles to be removed from this from column A. He will not watch Incredibles ever again. And I must admit, that's a tough one. Incredibles is a great one. Like, column A is, by the way, the hardest one to choose from because it's got Toy Story, Toy Story 2, Finding Nemo, Incredibles. So Seattle Builds 2 says Incredibles is gone. I'll give you guys another 5 seconds or so for you to pick your own. And you might want to just pick all three just because of the delay in the live stream. But let's see here. Nancy says Incredibles. Dan T says B, so that means Incredibles. So a lot of people say they would rather never see The Incredibles again. You know, here's the funny thing. I was leaning towards The Incredibles as well, but I'm not going to choose it. I'm choosing Toy Story 1. And it's kind of a cheat, but here's why. Because you've got 2 Toy Story movies here. I think Toy Story 2 is clearly the better of the 2. And in my reviews, my print reviews, which I do have print reviews out there, by the way, iCritic.net, Toy Story 2 is a 5-star movie, Finding Nemo is a 5-star movie, Incredibles is a 4.5-star movie, and Toy Story is a 4-star movie. So by half a star, I'm removing Toy Story from the list. I will never see Toy Story again, and I guess I'm just going to have to live with that. Now then, column B. From column B, which of these movies would you never watch again? If, basically someone was like forcing you, like pick one to never watch again. Would it be Coco, Toy Story 3, Inside Out, or Monsters Incorporated? Let me go back over here briefly to see if anyone has picked. So Seattle Builds 2 picked Inside Out. And Dante says we vote you out of the cool club. Yeah, no one liked that I took Toy Story off, but oh well. Seattle Builds 2 says Inside Out is gone. Does anyone else have an opinion? Would you remove Coco, Toy Story 3, Inside Out, or Monsters Incorporated? Do we have any more votes? Dan T says Inside Out. Nancy says I've never watched Inside Out, so I can't miss what I've never had. Very fair point. Okay, I'm totally going to go against the grain again, folks, because here's the thing. Out of all these movies, when it comes to Inside Out, I gave Inside Out 5 stars, and I actually, for my top 10 list that year, I listed as the best film of the year. So clearly I'm not getting rid of Inside Out. Now, I'm not as big a fan of Monsters, Inc. as some people are, but I do greatly enjoy it. I gave it 4 stars. And I liked Coco. I gave it 3.5 stars. I think that was pretty good. So now you're going to really hate me, but I only gave Toy Story 3 3 stars. And I've told people before, I don't think Toy Story 3 is that great. I mean, it's good, but Toy Story 3 has always bugged me because while it has a very emotional beginning and a very emotional ending, that stuff in the daycare is not essential to anything that's happening when you really get down to it. Like, there is no reason for them to have like mobster toys, and there's no reason to have any of that. I don't think, and even though Mexican Buzz is funny, he's not funny enough that I would give up these other movies. So I would remove Toy Story 3. And now I'm probably really going to be kicked out of the club now. I can't wait to see what the response is. So it might seem like I'm a Toy Story hater. I'm not. I own all 4 Toy Story movies. And I think it's unfortunate that, I had to pick 2 of them. But, hey, these are the rules. This is the game, right? And now we have column C. Now, column C is like, this was a much easier choice. But which one, I'm going to ask you guys first, would you never watch again? Would it be WALL-E, Brave, A Bug's Life, or Ratatouille? So let's see, first of all, what people are responding and which ones they would choose. So Rideshare Driver has never seen any of this group. Yeah, I am a 90s kid, but, I also judge quality over nostalgia. Yeah, Dustin, a little late on that one. Well, yeah, no, the ending was epic for Toy Story 3, but I didn't think the middle stuff was very good. That's the thing. So, anyway, Kevin loses his cool pass, whatever. So, Seattle Builder says Brave, gone. Dan T says, I'll say Ratatouille, mainly because the rat was annoying. Ryan, who definitely has a claim to fame on this one, says, Brave, I like it, but it's nowhere near top-tier Pixar. So Dustin says Ratatouille was awesome. Yeah, I know Ratatouille was awesome, but Dustin, that's not the question. The question is, of these 4 movies, which one, hypothetically, this is the game, do you choose to never watch ever again? WALL-E, Brave, A Bug's Life, or Ratatouille? Come on, Dustin, you gotta vote on one of these now that we know you're here. Nancy says, I loved Bug's Life as a kid, but now the graphics are unwatchable for me. So I'm assuming for you that would be A Bug's Life. So come on, Dustin. Share us your opinion before I share mine. You gotta tell us, which one of these 4 would you take away? Which one? And by the way, if you guys are enjoying the game, give the video a thumbs up. It'd be really appreciated. We might do more of these in the future. Come on, Dustin. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Okay, it's either a delayed response, or he's just going to be a jerk and not tell us. So, anyway, Brave. Okay, Brave, there we go. All right, so a little bit more of a mixed bag on this one, but it primarily seems to be between Brave and A Bug's Life, with one person saying Ratatouille. The vast majority are saying Brave. Okay, so what's my choice? I'm getting rid of WALL-E. No, I'm not. Calm down. WALL-E's awesome. No, WALL-E is safe. WALL-E's a 5-star movie, in my opinion. No, actually, for me, it came down to 2 movies. But considering WALL-E and Ratatouille, I gave 5 stars in my print reviews. Guess what? They're not going anywhere. Those 2 are safe. But it was really, really hard to choose between these 2. Not because either one was terrible, but because I think both of them were average, if we're being frank. I could personally live without seeing either of these 2 ever again. And I really mean that. If I never saw these movies again, I probably would be okay. But I'm ultimately going to choose A Bug's Life. For a very different reason. Because Bug's Life has always stood out as like the Pixar movie that really disappointed me. Now, you have to remember, back in, I think this was 1998, there were 2 bug movies that came out. A Bug's Life and Ants. Ants came out first. It was from DreamWorks. And while I will admit that the animation is not as good in Ants as it is in A Bug's Life definitely has that one over Ants. I thought Ants was really refreshing, and it was smart, and it was edgy, and I loved the dialogue. I loved that it was made for adults and not for kids. I was, I think, 13 or so at the time, so I was starting to lose interest in simple kids movies, and Ants was definitely like a nice bridge into more sophisticated adult humor, if you will. And then we saw Ants like a few weeks later, and I remember just, okay, it looks pretty, it looks better than Ants, but boy, I'm not enjoying this nearly as much. I do think A Bug's Life also had a slightly better villain, Kevin Spacey, my favorite despicable actor out there. So I'm going to pick A Bug's Life. Now, this column again was this was a much easier call. Like in reality, I could definitely live without watching these two again. It's much harder to make a case for any of these movies. Yes, even Toy Story 3 that I would personally never want to watch again. But since this is the game, and since those are the rules, I remove Toy Story 3, and A Bug's Life. Cool how they kind of just zag like that. I know. Probably I've lost a lot of street cred on that one. Huh? But anyway, so anyway, do more of these games. Okay, I will. So were you not sad that A Bug's Land closed at Disneyland a few years ago then? No, not even a little close. I mean, it's tough to be a bug was cute, but honestly, that was a kitty. The one reason I am maybe a little upset of A Bug's Land closing is because I think for little kids, that's I think they're missing out on something. We needed more kid rides at California Adventure. But anyway, that's where we're going to end that game. But hey, you know what? It doesn't have to end here. If you didn't do this live, you can still play the game. Comment below and let us know what of these three movies, and it has to be one from each column. You can't pick like Brave and A Bug's Life and, Monsters Inc. You can't do that. You have to pick one from every column. Which ones, if you could never watch them again, would you choose never to see again? We will definitely do more games like this in the future. All right. And with that said, that is our show. Now let me go through the questions real quick to see if there's anything really to answer. Probably not much. There is some debate. Seattle Builds 2, in reference to The Mask, said there's no privacy in public, therefore no private spaces can exist, except the CDC has kind of made it clear that you are to stand 6 feet from people, and if they're saying that and you're not following it, that puts the person not following it in the wrong, not the person who wants the rule followed. And Rideshare Source Driver says, and how does the virus work in common waters like pools and lakes and oceans? I would assume very similarly, you keep your distance. Also, when it comes to water, there's that whole disinfectant thing. And like most pools have chlorine. So, anyway, that's my comment on that. Ryan's Treasure says, have you ever thought of doing one of those Pixar ranking tiers like you did for the Walt Disney Animation Studio films? Actually, I was thinking about that today. And for a while, I didn't think I would because Pixar movies lean way more positive than negative. But they have enough now, and there's been a few misfires, so I could probably do that. And not every single Pixar movie is like a S rank tier movie. There's some really, like Monsters Incorporated, I'd probably give that a B+, even though it's considered a classic. So, who knows? I'm thinking about that, though. Maybe that might be the next fun thing we do for tomorrow's episode. Who knows? And Chris believes people who believe in the corona hoax are stupid sheeple. Yeah, Chris, because nothing says that you're not a sheep member than to basically, in unity, deny using the mask. No, I'm not a sheep. I don't want to wear a mask. No. So, yeah, Chris, go. You can have that opinion, but once you call people sheep, go screw yourself. And Ed Turtle says, I would have chosen The Incredibles, Inside Out, and Brave to do away with personally. I was very, very close to picking The Incredibles, but at the end of the day, I do like Incredibles a little bit more than Toy Story. I would never pick Inside Out. That was the best film of the year that year. So anyway, what is your rating for Cars 2? I'd give it 2 stars, although I haven't seen it in several years now. I would say 2 stars too, but I will say Cars 2 was the first Pixar movie that I had bought. I brought it home. I always rewatch Pixar movies. I put it on. I had my 3D glasses because I have a 3D TV. And about 25 minutes into it, I kind of said, no, I just, this is just too boring. And I didn't finish it. So, there you go. By the way, I don't normally show these comments, but, yep, this is the tolerant people who, say that they're not sheep. Who, they're the wise ones, and this is how they try to convince you. They call you names. Well, I could call you names too, you big loser keyboard warrior, and it's not going to make a difference on what you think. Therefore, you saying things to me will not make a difference either. We want to have a real discussion. We can have a real discussion. Now, Rideshare Source Driver says, how can you tell you don't want to wear a mask to someone if they lost a loved one to the virus? Just asking in general. I don't think he's going to give you a very logical answer, but that's why I wear a mask, because my wife has Crohn's disease, and I really need to take care of her, and this is one of the ways I take care of her. And you know what? I feel I also take care of her by doing the grocery shopping, by picking up her medication, washing my hands. Like, actually, when I go out, I actually take a full shower for the most part, which, just to make extra sure, because I love my wife and I want her to stick around for a while. So, but anyway, before that devolves too much, and it's an hour, so, we like to keep these things an hour. Anyway, that's going to be the end of the Aptrepreneur Show today. As always, we will cut all these segments up so that if you missed anything, you can watch them tomorrow in a replay. And join us tomorrow with more questions, and we will do another game or something to that effect. And I would love to know if anyone is watching this after the fact and watch the whole thing. What do you think of all this? Comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly.